Go
Hey
ahead, Edmund.
everyone, welcome to a preview pod. We recorded this one so you get to see our faces. Feño, who looks greater than me, and Ogre. But that's besides the point. We're back for another preview pod, and for USC 268, which weirdly they decided to have big pay-per-views like a week after each other, which is always fun. But it meant I had to do crunch time for this, which is fun. Now, is this card good though? Yeah. Is it as good as the last one? I'd say no, but it has some things worth looking out for.
It gets better the higher you go. It doesn't reach the same tops from last week though.
Yeah, but there's some crazy things and some things worth talking about. So, I don't really have much else to say. We can go ahead and jump in, I guess. We're going off of topology as
Yeah, I
usual.
mean, we have quite a few fights to cover, so we might as well jump into it. So first fight, it's at flyweight. We have CJ Vergara versus Osborne,
Mm-hmm.
the Jamaican sensation. So both guys contender series. The difference is that Osborne already has 3 fights, I think, in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, CJ Vergara is a lot of fun to watch. He comes forward, he puts his hands together pretty well. Um, he usually jabs, and then after the jab, he can throw an uppercut on an overhand, but he's pretty tight with his hands. His problem is that he doesn't move his head at all in prolonged exchanges. He has like this fierce layer of defense that he can like sleep or duck under the first punch, but after that he just keeps throwing, and he can get caught with, especially with straight shots, and that's of concern about against Osborne, who is like a very long flyweight, and super straight shots hit super hard.
Yeah, Osborne's kind of janky with kind of his mechanics and whatnot, and he can throw himself out of position. But against Vergara, that's kind of a bit of an interesting kind of question because Vergara, the thing that Vergara kind of stands out to me, he's kind of like an offensive fighter who's like a developing pressure fighter. So you see those things there. He has a good eye for like slipping, countering, and jabbing, like Feño said. And the problem is he's very, very open on exits to blitzes. There's one fight he had, don't know if it was his most recent one or close to it, but he gets decked in the very first round off of an exit just from the other guy stepping in. But he's very tough. His recovery's pretty nice, and he's an incredibly avid body operator, and he's really, really one of those pace, aggression, and attritional kind
Yeah,
of killers.
he's also
So,
very active on the
mhm,
clinch too,
yeah. And you
and he
kind of
has a
see.
good eye for finding like knees and elbows in the clinch.
Mhm,
That's He's pretty good there.
yeah.
Oh,
I don't really have much else to add really about either guy, but I feel like this kind of depends upon like this fight's probably going to be a bit of a banger as long as it lasts, I
yeah,
guess.
I
That's
think I think it's a bit of a given that Osborne is gonna hit him very hard early on.
yeah.
So we'll see if Vergara can survive like first and a half rounds. It's not that Osborne fades too hard, but he can run out of ideas because he's usually very successful, like with getting his long distance and sparking people with the 1-2. He's very long, and as you said, he can go out of position when throwing, but those shots are straight and they're powerful.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I mean, Vergara is more fun to watch for me, but I think he's a little bit too hittable early, and I
Hmm.
think Osborne is gonna catch him.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
have
feel it.
Osborne by knockout.
Yeah, I think this is kind of a one where a finish is most likely to occur. Vergara's attritional game kind of appeals to me because I always like guys who are consistent, like body operators, and he's pretty consistent. You see, like the cage cutting kind of developing, so this is probably a guy to keep an eye on down the road. This might be a bit too early for him.
Yeah, I mean he's older and has like a like similar amount of fights to Osborne, but he has been fighting lesser competition. So yeah, I think he'll be surprised with this level of athlete, if anything. So next fight is at featherweight. This is Nelsig Bhagatasarian versus Bruno Susa, and this is a bit of a mirror match. I mean, both guys are like bouncy karate, like blitzy, kicky guys. Susa is from Team Machida, so anyone familiar with that will see the style, like super upright, not a lot of head movement, but he's very accurate when countering incoming blitzes from other fighters. Bhagatasarian is a bit more traditional for MMA standards in the sense that he moves his head a little bit more, and he kicks more with a more kickboxing style more than a pure karate style. I think Bhagatasarian holds the advantage just because he's a super hard kicker, and I don't think Susa is gonna be comfortable with that. He's also better well versed with his hands. He jabs a lot. He can put combinations together. They are not pretty, but they're more sound than what Susa has to offer, I think.
Yeah, I've seen Susa was kind of hard to find some footage for, but the footage that you can see for him is like, you see he has a lot of ideas behind feeler jabs out there, and a lot of ideas behind using that to put some pressure on. But you also see a lot of the downsides to using a bladed stance from him that you see with a lot of karate style fighters with crossing the feet. And for some reason he has like no kicking game at all.
I mean, he kicks, but he has like no setups at all.
No, yeah, exactly. That's a better way of phrasing it. Like he kicks, but he doesn't have necessarily like cohesive purposes for it.
He depends a lot on the threat of the kick to maintain a long distance, and I don't think like Bhagatasarian is going to respect that because he's a super powerful kicker himself, and I don't think Susa is going to be comfortable at that range with him.
Yeah, like Bhagatasarian, like the thing I've seen a lot with him is he sometimes gets trapped in a lot of clinches and collar ties, but like this isn't likely to happen here because these two guys.
Yeah, I mean the clinch, if anything, is like a weakness for him, but I don't think
it's not a problem here.
Susa is going to exploit that. Both guys are kind of sketchy in the ground too, but
yeah,
again, not of much concern on this one.
Yeah, it's very much. I feel like this is going to be a whoever comes forward and controls that kicking range wins. And like, well, Bhagatasarian's last win was a knockout by kick, if I recall, that he used to set up the punches upstairs. So, and I've seen Bhagatasarian do a lot more with his hands than Susa. So, this might be a weird one, but because it's a karate style matchup, but I kind of have to go with the guy with more depth and experience.
Yeah. Same, I'm picking Nelsig by knockout. So moving on, we go to light heavyweight 205 is Dustin Jacoby versus John Allen.
This is weird. Actually, originally I think Jacoby is a last minute replacement, so I have done no homework on him at all.
Really?
Yeah, I think this was.
Who was Allen fighting originally?
He was, I think it was, hang on, I'm checking. His name was Kamur? Hang on. It was Aleska Kamur.
Oh, okay. Aleska
Kamur. And Kamur has...
Oh, yeah, that's the steepest boy, right?
I don't know camps that well, but it's like...
I think he is.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to pick Allen in that one, because Allen kind of just showed that he was willing to hand fight and play with rhythm a bit on the feet. I didn't really see too much because, well, you know, it's your run-of-the-mill light heavyweight, but I saw a lot more ideas from Allen than I did from Kamur. Now, I can't speak for Jacoby here at all, so...
I think Jacoby is going to fuck him up.
Oh?
Like they're very similar, but Jacoby is a lot more comfortable on the feet because... I mean, it's the meme that he went to kickboxing and came back to MMA, but actually it accounts for something. He's very good at putting the jab and low kicks together, and just he's very calm in maintaining constant exchanges against guys because he's seen that before in a sport that it's all about that. So the thing that Alanga has going for him is that he's well-rounded. he might be able to take the fight down to the
Yeah,
ground.
he
But
kind of showed
Jacoby,
some danger off of his back here, and I
yeah,
mean,
same. Yep. But also like Jacoby gets tired, but fights super well tired. I mean, he survived like a super ass beating by Ion Kutelava and came back to get a draw on that fight. So yeah, I mean it's a good matchup, and both guys like to bang, so it should be fun. But I don't have much of a read on this one other than my gut feeling is that Jacoby is going to dominate most of the exchanges because he has more depth on the feet, and I'm picking him by decision.
Would you say Jacoby also has more experience? I've not looked at his career too much, but in terms of
I mean, yeah, in MMA they're kind of close. Jacoby has more fights, but he also had the pro kickboxing fights. So
noted, yeah. Okay, so that brings us to the next one, the people's main event. The people's main event, which is, in other words, John Valente, the man himself, versus Chris Barnett. And I never thought the day would come on this pod where I have to publicly admit that I had more pain watching someone than Jessica I, but here I am. Because I don't know if any of you have seen John Valente's fight with, what's his name? All of
Maurice
them? Maurice Green. I was actually going to say Francimar Barroso, which is genuinely the worst fight of all time.
Oh my god, that guy is so boring.
But if you see that Maurice Green fight, how would I describe this? Well, it starts out with John Valente, who is definitely overweight, outstriking Maurice Green, and then is like 2 minutes away from winning. And then you get the funniest ending of all time. And I'm not going to say what happened, but just, it's something, if you have to watch it, find that ending. There's really no words for it.
I mean, if you think getting like forearm choked by a guy that is mounting you is embarrassing, you have no idea.
Yeah, so John Valente, Valente used to actually do stuff, but now he's kind of just the definition of your average.
He was never great, but
he did stuff.
He used to look like a professional fighter.
Now
like he was in shape. He had some power. He has a decent process. I mean, he was never like he never had the most depth to his game, but
it's like literally I watch Valente and it's like watching a slug try to walk faster than it goes and then just kind of regress in the other direction. And that's what watching Valente is like. It's just, the thing is, he has no defense at all, except he's just weirdly durable. So watching all of his fights, if you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all at this point, at this stage of his career.
Yeah. On the other hand, we have like Chris Barnett, that he's like super fat, but actually surprisingly mobile.
No. Here's the best part about Chris Barnett. If you think that John Valente is the fat one in this matchup, you're wrong.
Not even close. Like
it's incredible.
Barnett has to cut a decent amount to make heavyweight, and he's 5'9". So yeah. The thing with Barnett is like he's powerful and he's fast for all the weight that he's carrying around, but he has no depth because he hasn't been fighting good opposition like in his whole career. And then
he's also just really small, and it's just like, I mean, Rothwell basically just walked him down. But Rothwell actually has like some depth and is immortal. So
yeah, but yeah, Rothwell, it was really was a levels fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like Barnett was not on his level, and Rothwell just set him up and fuck him up. On the other hand, Valente on his last fight against fellow overweight, not heavyweight Jake Collier, he looked a lot better than he did against Maurice Green, mostly because he wasn't as fat. So, but yeah, the thing with Valente is that he doesn't have a great gas tank, but he knows how to fight tired. I mean, we say this a lot about different fighters, but it's true. I mean, he gets tired, but he's still countering. He's still intercepting entries with the jab. He's trying to finish combinations with either the right hand or closing the door with the left hook. So, I mean, for me, this go one of both ways. I mean, either Barnett kills him early, and Valente is super durable, but Barnett is a huge hitter, so you don't know. But if they both get tired, I don't know, man. I just trust Valente more. Especially if he shows in any kind of okay-ish shape.
my informed pick here is essentially it's heavyweight. Who gives a damn? But my actual pick, informed by my love of our esteemed colleague Julian, will be John Valente.
Yeah, same. I'm picking Valente by decision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll probably be big, bad, and ugly. But actually, the next fight I actually think is pretty good. Jordan Williams is fighting an Irish prospect by the name of Ian Gary. Is it Gary?
I think it's Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, and I checked out Gary's last fight, and I think he's kind of someone to keep an eye on. And he's still kind of green and whatnot, but there's a lot of cool things.
I think it's too early for him to be in the UFC, but this matchup it's fine because like Williams is like just as green as he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like what's cool about Gary is he doesn't really have much in the way of his footwork or like read at rhythm, but like you see the ideas of a developing prospect there, like his distance management, reading things, using strikes into like transitions, and like an extremely dangerous like opportunistic like submission game off of those transitions.
Yeah, he's clearly the better school of the two on this matchup.
Yeah, it's there is just some obvious green things. Like for some reason he kept giving his back without fighting grips against this one guy in his last fight. He kind of bailed himself out just by being dynamic and a good enough grappler. But and that's also one of the big difference makers here because Williams' takedown defense is not the best.
Yeah, I mean Williams can grapple a little bit. He's not awful on the ground. I mean Mickey God, for the grab that he gets, he's actually like a good grappler. Like no shame getting submitted by him if it goes to the ground, like just on grappling terms. The thing with Williams that he has going on for him on this matchup is that I feel like he's the more natural fighter of the two.
Mm-hmm.
Like when things gets rough, like Williams can push forward and bang even if he's tired.
Williams
he will
is really
forward and he can crack too.
Oh yeah, so, Williams is very janky, but like he's pretty dynamic and like the rhythm manipulations you see from him kind of surprise people.
Yeah, he has a good feeling for fighting. I mean, he's not as well skilled as Gary is, but I think at this stage of both guys' careers, Williams has like a better understanding of what's going on in the fight, the exact moment. Gary clearly has more tools because he has more resources to make stuff happen. But I mean, if Gary like gets tired or if it gets ugly, I think Williams has a decent shot of pulling this one off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like for me, this one kind of comes down to does this go to the ground or not, and if it does, like how well can Williams survive there?
And who ends up on top because.
Yeah, because Gary, like I said, his biggest strength is that transitional striking into the clinch, and he will look for those subs immediately.
Yeah.
If this fight goes deeper, though, it's hard not to pick Williams, though.
Yeah, I still think like Gary will have enough to keep Williams at bay and don't let the fight turn into that second year. So yeah, I'm picking Gary by decision, but this one is closer than you would think.
Yeah, it kind of just feels like just some dynamics you kind of have to see, given both these guys are seemingly kind of at the same level. So yeah, I'll take Gary too. I'm kind of interested in some of the things he does here, and I think like striking into the clinch is a kind of underrated thing. Not enough people do.
But I still think it's too early for him. I mean, this one is a good fight for him, but after this, like I wouldn't pick Gary against Mickey Gall, like not at all. So, and that's the lower tier of welterweight. So, but yeah, I mean he's developing, so who knows? We'll see.
Next up is a middleweight fight: Edmund Shibazium versus Nazarene Imavov.
Imavov, yeah.
Imavov, yeah. And I'm pretty sure Shibazian's either just going to outstrike him or just knock him out, honestly, if it remains on the feet.
Yeah, I mean Imavov has some ideas on the feet. He's like this karate guy, but he actually has punching combinations. The problem with Imavov is that his ring craft not very good, and he hates being kicked to the legs. And Shibazian kicks very hard, and he has a good understanding of rhythm. And I think like Imavov is used to be the sniper and the faster guy. He's not going to be that on this one. Like Shibazian is a bit of a meme because he trains with Edmund and all that bullshit. But I mean Shibazian looked decent in his last fight against Hermanson. He was more composed. He was clearly winning in the feet every exchange, and Hermanson had to take him down. And even then, he reversed him one time on the ground. Imavov is a decent wrestler and grappler, but I don't think he's anywhere close to the level of Hermanson.
Yeah, the problem here is like Shibazian kind of has some sense of pacing and like timing on the counter, and Imavov has some of the most porous entries I've seen in this weight class. So that's kind of the concerning thing. So
yeah, if they get into an exchange and Imavov keeps his head on the center line, Shibazian is going to throw that head to the crowd because.
Yeah, I mean, Shibazian's takedown defense isn't really that stellar, so Imavov might get more success looking for that.
I think it would be smart for Imavov to look for takedowns, but Shibazian like first layer of takedown defense is pretty alright. You have to chain takedowns to take him down, and I'm not sure if Imavov has that on his arsenal.
Yeah, it kind of feels clear-cut Shibazian's kind of fight to lose, barring some surprises.
Yeah, I think he will surprise people. I think most people are counting him out because of the last two fights, but I think this matchup is good for him, and it's a good level of opposition too. It's not that great of a step down. So yeah, that's a good fight. Picking Edmund by knockout first round.
Me too. So next is another middleweight fight between Phil Hawes versus Chris Curtis. And do you want to take this away?
Yeah.
These two are kind of a little strange, and I feel like this matchup's going to be a little hard to call.
Yeah, I mean, Curtis does some cool stuff on the feet. I think he has the technical edge if they box each other. The problem is that Curtis is moving a weight class up, and Hawes he's a fucking unit, man. He's big. He's so strong, and he has like the reactive takedowns, and he will be a lot bigger than Curtis. So, and Hawes like showed like improvement on the last fight. Like Kyle Dawkins is like a good fighter, and he just grinded him. Like Hawes is learning to use every inch of athleticism that he has, and I think that doesn't bode well for a guy that's moving up a division and hasn't faced this level of competition.
Yeah, and Curtis is also kind of old too. Isn't he about 35, 36?
He's 34 and Hawes is 32. The difference is that he has like 34 fights and Hawes only has 13.
Yeah. Yeah, you see with Curtis, like, kind of the foundations with, like, his fundamentals, like, especially in, like, defense. Like, he's deceptively hard to hit to the head because of how he shells up. But, like, he doesn't really have much in the way of backwards movement and, like, not really any, like, discernible kicking game. Now, I'll note I only saw one fight of his because he was a little hard to find things for.
Yeah.
So, who knows? He might just have different kind of opponents to showcase that against. But it kind of feels like, Hawes gets like some pretense of initiative and will pair strikes together, kicks off punches, etc. Hawes' problem, I think, is like best demonstrated against what was his name? His last opponent, Dukakis?
Kyle Dawkins. Yeah.
Kyle Dawkins, yeah. I think when Dawkins kind of was a little more dynamic and surprised him a lot more. And sometimes it kind of seems like Hawes just runs out of idea and just kind of banks upon kind of being physical with the other guy.
Yeah, I mean, and that could get him in trouble against a guy that is also powerful but a bit more technical than him on the feet.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is that save like Hawes has on his last fight is that he was a lot stronger than Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see how they match up physically because Hawes is gonna be bigger. I mean, Curtis is a very big welterweight, but there's a difference between being a very big welterweight and being like a big guy at 185.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So who are we taking here? Probably Hawes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going safe with Hawes by decision,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
just because he's bigger and more athletic.
it's hard to find footage over Curtis, I think. So
Yeah, I hope Curtis gets like another fight if he loses this
Mm-hmm.
one because
Yeah.
he looks interesting, and
Yeah, he kinda does.
he probably can get another fight at welterweight next time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the next fight though, I think is one of the more important fights on this card and definitely worth watching. Probably the first must watch of this. Yeah. So, and it's between two guys who are known for getting badly robbed. Bobby Green in his last fight against Rafael Fiziev, and Ali Quinta, most famously the man to beat Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, I mean, if those
It's
judges
ridiculous.
knew what they
Yeah.
were watching,
Yeah,
this would be a
ridiculous.
different timeline.
I know. Yeah. So, Bobby Green, he rules. Why does he rule, Feño?
I mean, Bobby Green has a super interesting skill set, and on paper it sounds like it shouldn't make sense, but it actually does. Like, he mixes up different stuff like the shoulder rolls on the feet, but he also has kick defense. I think he watches like Muay Thai fights because on the clinch he does like some interesting grip stuff that are not like very wrestling oriented. He's super active with the jab. He's great feeling for rhythm and timing. He's
Yeah,
always
that's
like
the word that
playing with
sticks out with
expectations.
me. Yeah, Green's sense of rhythm and timing, especially like with his upper body, is really, really stands out even amongst like a division full of guys who are like known for their sense of like rhythm and
Yeah,
whatnot.
in the fight, for example, in the fight against Vanata, I mean, Vanata doesn't have a lot of depth, but he has a very good feeling for fighting and throwing counters.
Mm-hmm.
And Bobby was either like have him paralyzed with feints or just drawing counters and not being there to be hit and then hitting him back. It was very impressive. And his last fight, he looked great. I think he won that fight, but even if he didn't win that, like the kind of fight that he fought Fiziev in didn't make any sense, and he was in the last round like basically dominating. He was
Yeah,
walking down.
yeah. Green can sometimes, I think, come across as very hot and cold to some people because it's like sometimes it look like when he's switched on, like he's on, but it's sometimes like you can kind of tell like maybe he hasn't figured things out yet for himself. But I think what really like it helps Green out is like when he has that space and timing to work. Like if he faces someone who's say like a better athlete than him or someone who plays with rhythm back with him, and like he can get in consistent trouble.
Yeah,
Especially since he's
the problem also with Bobby is that he just vibes too much. He has. I said this about another fighter last week, but he's the kind of fight that has skills everywhere, but doesn't have the tools to take the fight those places.
Mhm.
So, for example, like he fought Thiago Moises everywhere Moises wanted to take the fight, and I mean, it's not that I'm fanboying over Bobby Green, but I also think he won that fight. But yeah, it's a problem when you let the other fighter like take the fight, and if Quinta has something going for him is that he will try to take the fight where he needs to. he's not always successful at it, but he has a good idea of what to do with fights and where to take them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Iaquinta, like, you can kind of tell, like, if something goes wrong for him, he'll go like, oh, okay, I'll try something different.
Yeah.
The problem with Iaquinta, though, is that his defense on the feet doesn't really, like, show a lot of versatility. Like, you'll see him willing to come forward, play with feints a bit, but doesn't have the versatility to really work off of it. And even if you play with rhythm a little bit back, like, and just kick his legs a bunch like Hooker did, or just jabbing him and reposition, he can't really do much about it. So, yeah, I think there's also the question of haven't fought in 2 years, doesn't really go to the body, which I kind of feel like, given how hard Green is to hit upstairs, like...
And it's funny because he used to go to the body a lot when he was a prospect. That was like the one of the cooler part of his game. But yeah, he's been super headhunter lately.
Yeah.
Late on his career, especially against guys that it doesn't make any sense not to go to the body like Cerrone. So yeah, I mean fighters when they get like old in their careers, they get settled in some habits.
Yeah. Yeah, Green still relies upon those upper body reflexes, but it's like Iaquinta doesn't really have any upper body defense, and so nor like an attack downstairs consistently, besides maybe some takedowns, but I'm not too sure, unless he disguises those, that
I
he's
mean,
going to get those done.
Bobby Green's really hard to wrestle. So.
Yeah, that's also true. So it kind of feels like Green's just going to jab him up kind of all night and put on a vintage Green performance, barring a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, if Bobby Green like just committed to the jab and the low kick, he should have this in the bag. But I think if all starts like pressing harder and making it ugly, Bobby will still win the most of the exchanges, but I'm not sure if he will convince the judges. Like judges love aggression, and Iaquinta, even when he's losing, he pushes forward super hard.
Yeah. I think Iaquinta is going to be a little too tough to finish here, so I'm going to take Green by decision.
Yeah, I mean, I don't trust the judges, but I think Green will do enough, at least in 2 rounds, to convince the judges that he's kicking his ass.
Yeah.
But this should be a lot of fun. I mean, not to undersell Al, because I mean, we hold him to kind of high standard. He's actually a good fighter. He puts his hands together well. He knows how to wrestle, and he can surprise here and there, like with sneaky high kicks, and he can like go full pressure mode. He can hide behind his jab. He has some stuff that he can do well, and as we said, like Green is not the kind of guy to take the fight where he wants. So maybe Al also gets to show why he's good on this one. But I'm still picking Green at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think this is one of those fights you should just watch just because Bobby Green is such a fun fighter to watch. But yeah, Green by decision, I think, is the call here. That leads us to our are we at the main card yet, or are we still?
No, I think this is the main event of the prelims.
Okay, yeah. So famous kickboxer Alex Pereira, the left hooker himself, is making his UFC debut against a guy named Andreas Michailidis. And I feel the basic problem with this fight is exactly where exactly does anyone feel like Pereira is going to go with MMA? Because the guy is in his mid-30s at this point, or early 30s? I don't know.
34, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, he is on a bit of a ticking clock here. He's only had 4 MMA fights. The question, though, is his opponent the guy who is going to, like, pose those questions, though?
Yeah, I think if we keep making the parallels with Easy, Easy got a fight that told us more about him, his first fight on the UFC, because he fought Wilkinson, I guess. I think it was his name. But the guy tried to push for the clinch and look for takedowns. Michailidis is not that. he's like a fellow kickboxer, but a lot of tiers below Pereira. I mean, he still can try to get takedowns and look for the clinch, but I think this looks like a matchup designed to give Pereira a win.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it's designed to give Pereira that left hook knockout highlight reel, because it's like
Yeah,
Michaelitis, like you see him have some idea of initiative, but he's so open on the entry.
he blitzes a lot, and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Pereira's whole game is like, okay, please blitz so I can kill you with the left hook.
yeah, and it's like, and you still can tell Pereira's been applying like some ideas of his ring craft to his cage craft, like cutting off the ring and drawing rhythm into attack. And you see like he kind of has an innate idea of his clinch work, like being pretty devastating and powerful. And it also kind of operates as his takedown defense, is basically that just like, I'm not going to fight grips or anything. I'm going to get you in the clinch, get that collar tie, and then knee you really, really damn hard.
Yeah, and he
Um,
also is his footwork has been looking pretty good on the clinch too. So he people had been taking him to the cage, but once in the cage, he's actually very good at fighting grips and just kneeing once and then pivoting out, getting back to the center. The other thing is that Pereira can both pressure to make people blitz into the left hook, or he can just sit back and just counter an entry. So he can do both. I don't know which approach Andreas is going to take, but I think either way, Pereira is going to catch him with the left hook, if not with a
yeah,
high kick. And
yeah,
I'm choosing a knockout first round.
yeah. Doesn't feel like the kind of fight that's like for Andreas to win here. So yeah, Pereira first
They're
round
they're trying
knockout.
to give him a highlight for sure.
Yeah, building down that big like Izzy super fire or whatever down the road. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't think it's going to happen eventually, but they're trying.
yeah.
So,
So anyways, we're now at the main card, and this is where shit gets real.
yeah, this is way more intriguing.
Yeah. So Frankie Edgar is fighting Marlon Vera, and this is kind of a weird fight, but it might be really fun.
Yeah, I mean, oh man, I mean, this one is hard to read because
Yeah, because Vera, I'll start with Marlon Vera. So I feel like Vera's development into this pressure fighter that he's become is he's really fun to watch, but it's only when he gets into like the clinch where he really, really feels it. Um and he kind of is best where he's like standing his ground, like reliant upon hand traps, drawing the opponent's like things in order to step in and get that clinch or to attack them. The problem is he's very, very stiff and upright in the pocket and at range. So everyone who tries to hit him to the body succeeds. And he's not exactly the kind of fighter who works like he can cut the ring off on them, but it's still like in development. It's kind of depending upon, can I get that clinch and muscle you there? Or but he also makes up for it by kind of being obscenely durable. And
yeah,
so
to his credit, the clinch entries had been getting a lot better
no, the
lately.
clinch entries for sure. The pocket entries need some work.
Yeah. Also, he can crack, so that
True.
also
Yeah.
helps. And he goes to the body a lot, and
Yeah,
he can
he's
turn those left hooks to the body into more clinches. So, I mean, he clearly has vulnerabilities, but I think the game is making more and more sense the more fights go on. I think
yeah.
he's looking very good lately. The problem is that do you want to spend a lot of time in the clinch against a wrestler like Frankie Edgar?
Yeah, because here's the thing. Frankie Edgar's past his best, but like prime
Way
Frankie
past
Ed-
it.
prime Frankie Edgar, y'all must have forgot, on the ground is one of the most terrifying top control fighters ever.
And and especially considering that this is bantamweight, like Frankie Frankie's super strong at this weight
It's
class.
it's also like Edgar can still crack, and it's like, although Munoz is invincible, Munoz still got like his attention.
Yeah,
And
he cracked Pedro super hard a lot of times. The thing is that Pedro has
Yeah.
granite. So
And it's like Edgar, despite like also being fast past his best, he's still pretty quick with his hands and excels at drawing guys into those counter reactive shots. So the question is, how does Vera do on the ground? And Vera kind of uses the threat of his like dynamic like subs and danger to get more control.
yeah, but I don't see that working against Frankie. His top game
Yeah,
is
but
too
that
solid.
exactly, yeah. Edgar's experience on the ground and handling and stifling guys on the ground, yeah, that's going to be really, really tough. So this fight's really weird because it kind of like you can kind of see Vera still cracking him really hard and hurting him,
Yeah.
depending upon where Edgar's durability is at. But you can also see Edgar just like basically going like, "Hey, we're in the clinch. Oh, you're kind of dangerous here, but now I've got you down and controlling you." So it's kind of a weird fight, I think, but
Yeah,
it's also
it's very
pretty.
hard to read because Frankie might just need 2 takedowns in the whole fight to win.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the thing with Marlon is that he makes people super tired, but even at what 40 years old, I'm still trusting Edgar's cardio. I mean, he was tired on the 5th round against Munoz, but that pace was ridiculous.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's like Munoz puts up a very high pace. And it's like Edgar's always fought at a high pace anyways, and he was still fighting there. He didn't win
and
that fight,
and
but
Frankie was moving a lot more than
mhm,
Pedro was, so it made
yeah,
sense. And both guys were tired. It's not like Munoz was
hmm
fresh on the 5th.
yeah, it's just it's hard to really know what this fight looks like ultimately. So
I
it's
think
kind of
that
a coin
the
flip.
main thing is that Edgar's wrestling has been looked diminished lately.
Hmm
So we don't know, but I need to see Shito defend against this level of wrestler moving forward. So
Yep.
uh, this is like a gamble. I want Shito to win, but I'm choosing Edgar by decision.
Yeah, I don't really know what to call. I can see Cheeto maybe cracking him and having him hurt, or at
Yeah,
least
that's very probable. Like
yeah,
Frankie's got like killed by Corey and by Korean Zombie, so who knows?
yeah. So I'll go the opposite route with the full admission that I could be totally wrong here, just for the sake of variety. I'll go Vera maybe catches him on entry,
Okay, cool.
possibly. Yeah, but this is one of those that's just hard to call until you see it. Um, Somehow the next fight's even more insane. Now, if anything, the next fight might actually steal the show.
Yeah, I
Honestly,
mean, people are looking forward for
uh,
Justin versus Chandler, and we'll talk about that later. But Shane Burgos versus Billy Q featherweight. This one is going to be crazy.
yeah. So I'll begin by saying that personally, there's kind of some tentativeness here because Burgos' last fight really frightened me in
Yeah,
terms of
and
optics.
and the one before that one too. So,
Yeah, but last one with Barboza was really really scary because the knockout alone, but like just from he still didn't look as good as he did against Emmett beforehand, but like the Emmett fight is also like one of the most violent 3 rounders you'll ever find in
yeah,
MMA. And the Burgos fight, sorry, Barboza was a very violent fight too, but like Burgos didn't have nearly as many moments to like even the odds that he did against Emmett, and he was also slower, if you ask me. So, um, the question here is kind of like Billy Q is relentless, he's insane, and
great cardio too, like insane cardio.
yeah, like you think he's gonna gas out, but he still keeps going. Um, And the thing is, Burgos is very, very aggressive, and Burgos' biggest problem is always that he makes things way harder for himself than he needs to because he gets too reckless, I'd say. And
Yeah,
Billy Q is the kind of guy who is going to look at that and basically go, I'll attack you really, really hard at that moment that you give me that. And Burgos, but what makes this fight potentially great though is that Burgos, everything you give Burgos, he's gonna try to like exploit and build off of.
yeah,
So
I mean, Billy has great ideas offensively. That's what makes him. I mean, it's the cardio, is the stupid chin he has because he never dies, but he takes full advantage of those. He takes full advantage of those qualities, being very creative offensively, and he actually fights everywhere. He's very good with submissions. He's he goes hard in the clinch, but especially goes hard to the body with body kicks, with straight punches. He gets to the clinch, attacks to the body. He's relentless. Burgos also very relentless. I mean, he's not as high pace, but I mean the difference here is that
Burgos is more attritional than like relentless. I think would be a good way of phrasing it, because like Burgos will have the ability to manage exchanges better than anyone Billy Q has fought yet. And it'll have way more answers on the front foot or back foot compared to other guys, especially his jab.
Yeah.
The problem with Burgos like here is Billy Q at the very least understands like how to set things up. Like as you saw against like Mowgli Benitez, like how he got that knockdown off the overhand. And Shane Burgos, if you mess with him just enough, is pretty susceptible to getting timed by overhands. Because Josh Emmett hit him with 43 overhands. I counted. That is how many overhands. I actually fucking counted. And it's just like that Burgos may, for all intents and purposes, just be psychotically durable still. But it doesn't change the fact that he still needs his reads. And although he starts fast, he doesn't really get the momentum going until like he gets those reads. And Billy Q is an insane starter.
Yeah. He's staying super hard. But,
and like he big brothered Benitez too, which is kind of crazy.
And Benitez is a good athlete. Like he's fast and he's powerful. But also like Benitez, I don't know, has that trouble taking the fights where he wants. And Burgos might have that same problem. The thing that favors Burgos here is that his skill set overlaps better with Billy Q than Benitez did.
Mm-hmm.
And we saw what happened to Billy Q when he was outclassed in a single phase against a good athlete, against Gavin Tucker.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this one is sketchy because I don't know if I can still trust Burgos, but I'm going to do it. I mean, I think the problem is that Billy Q relies too much, and Burgos relies on his chin too, but Burgos has a lot more defensive depth. He has his lapses and his moments when he gets let down, but I think Billy Q is going to be hit a lot more than he thinks, and Burgos he just cracks. So I'm not sure you want to take those punches so much, especially if he goes to the body.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing. It's like we've not really seen anyone really attack Billy Q's body that much, so it's like and Burgos works the body as good as anyone else can.
Also, if he fails takedowns, like Burgos very good at punishing you for that. He will sprawl because he's fucking huge. He will punch you to the ribs the whole time. It's going to suck if he fails a takedown. So this one should be great.
This one will be.
Do not miss this fight.
Yeah, this fight's going to be a banger as long as it lasts. It might steal the show, but that depends upon the fight that follows it. Because the fight that follows it is insane also.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Burgos' death, I kind of have to favor him a bit more, but there are reasons to worry about Burgos at this point. I think very realistic reasons.
Yeah, I really wish Burgos moved up to lightweight.
Yeah, and if not that, took more time off, because that knockout was pretty scary.
But I'm still not ready to pick against him on a fight like this.
Yeah, this is still kind of his world, and he still thrives in those fights. And it's like you kind of have to sometimes outweigh him in those boxing exchanges, time him like Emmett did, or
and
you
Billy
have to
Billy Q is a decent athlete, but he's not Barbosa or Emmett.
No,
I don't think
he will be
able to. He won't be able to surprise Burgos the way those two monsters did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going.
This one probably goes the distance, and it's probably going to be really
Yeah,
violent.
I'm picking Burgos by decision.
Yeah. It'll be something. You should watch it. Speaking of must watch, probably what most people consider the real main event.
Yeah, so you don't get the rest after that fight because
Yeah, so Justin Gaethje is fighting Michael Chandler, and I think I don't think there's any way to mince words about this. This fight is not going the distance, and if it does, I'll be astounded.
I mean, there's a slight chance that Chandler
there
plays on
is.
top of him because Chandler is kind of boring from top position.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think that's going to happen at
Yeah,
all.
this fight is either gonna end literally in the opening minute, or it's gonna last longer and it will be insane. Because this one's tricky to call, and I think it would have been harder a few years ago, but it's still kind of hard. Because here the thing about Gaethje is like what Justin Gaethje will we see here? Because we've established two identities. We've established pressure Gaethje, who likes to work behind that high guard shell and draw counters, and then punish your resets with leg kicks. Or we have outfighter Gaethje, who likes to draw you in to like counters with his hand fighting, or like shift feints in and then get out with that.
And the thing is that I can see both working, but I also can see Chandler landing a huge right hand against both types of adjusting.
It's like it's weird because it's also Chandler will be the like most explosive wrestler, like Gaethje's fought to, like the guy who is gonna look for those reactive shots way more than
and
say
also
like
the most explosive right hand he's seen. So
yeah, it's like Gaethje is kind of an underrated athlete, but Michael Chandler is still one of the like top 5 athletes.
Chandler is going to be way faster than him.
Yeah,
and it's a different kind of fast than, for example, Michael Johnson, because Johnson has this super nimble thing about him that he moves super quick and you don't even like notice. Chandler is, on the other hand, like super explosive, like his big movements, but he does them so fast.
Mm-hmm. It's still like just crazy to this day that Chandler this isn't talked about enough. That guy knocked out Dan Hooker, and Dan Hooker is still like obscenely durable for all intents and purposes.
Incredibly durable, yeah.
Like you can say like, oh, Hooker got caught, or just like, oh, he was caught square, but like let's say dropping Hooker isn't enough to kind of go like, what the hell, after that war with Poirier. Hey, but even then, like knocking him out, that is just that says something. So once again, it's kind of like, so we have Michael Chandler, who is an explosive like wrestler and definitely has the power to put like someone out in a shot. Gaethje, whom I don't think Gaethje has an exceptional like tier chin, but I think he has great recovery.
But do you want to be with Michael Chandler punching you like 100 times per second on the ground?
Yeah. So the thing is, the counterpoint though is Chandler can no longer really take a big shot the way he used to. Not at all. Like his durability's not there anymore. So but this is kind of a fight where it kind of feels like whoever lands the first big shot, like, is also likely to get that moment. But it's also like both guys outside of that, just there's other things like, what's Gaethje gonna do, and like, is Chandler gonna be more effective like if he draws him into those reactive takedowns, and how's Gaethje gonna handle those, or is letting Chandler going on the front foot a good idea to draw him into easy counters like Pitbull did and just nukes him in a second? Like or does Gaethje kind of try to focus on the outside and like wear him down with kicks? Because Chandler's
because Chandler's lead leg is super kickable.
Yeah, because he's so planted on it, because he's bursting forward. So it's like this fight it's not as chaotic in the way that I think like matching up Oliveira Chandler was on paper, but it's still pretty chaotic.
Yeah, this is super hard to predict because we don't really know where Gaethje is, and same with Chandler. Both are like crazy men and have have tools that present a lot of troubles and new challenges to the other fighter.
Yeah, I'd say one thing I'll also say is, although I do think Chandler's durability is gone, I think his craft on the feet has improved. Like in
Yes,
how he creates his pressure and how he creates his big shots. Like
and
cutting
Justin
off.
is a very good athlete and he's fast, but the way he moves is not very quick. So if
Mhm.
Chandler can avoid the leg kicks, he might have success blitzing in and out from
Mhm.
Justin's.
Yeah. The problem is, of course, like Gaethje is still kind of a counterpuncher by nature, so it's like Gaethje is gonna look for like the moments Chandler does something and try to time him. And I don't think Gaethje can actually throw like more that many more layers than Chandler can, but I do think like he's more proficient in probably an exchange in
I
general.
mean, if the combination goes like more than 3 punches deep, I'm favoring Justin by a big
Yeah,
margin.
that's a good way of phrasing it. Yeah, so it's like, um, I think a good way of looking at this, like in a broader sense, is so what are the problems, like isolated problems we see with both Gaethjes? For me, the problem with backfoot Gaethje here is, I think how Gaethje manages space with his opponent in the center of the ring is great. I think how he handles space when he has to move laterally and away from them needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think like if Gaethje has to concede in that fight, his ring craft is gonna matter, or like timing those counters is gonna matter. But I also think because Chandler is gonna come in on him, there's a possibility they might clinch up, and if that happens, we might see the return of the Gaethje's patented counter uppercuts, collar tie uppercuts.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how good of a clinch fighter Michael Chandler is, but I'm pretty sure he's not that good.
No, he's not there. I mean, it all depends on how Justin reacts to the grips. Because
Yes.
if Chandler gets like body to body against him, he's probably taking Justin for a ride.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's
Yeah.
so strong and so
Yeah.
powerful,
Gaethje's hips are
and
crazy,
also a
but
good wrestler. It's not that he's just strong; it's that he
yes.
has like chains to his wrestling. He
Mm-hmm.
can move from single to double. He can move from single to high crotch. So he has the depth to take someone like Justin down. But if
Yeah.
Justin addresses the wrist early, like he did against Khabib early on, he can get like into a phone booth fight, and I think he wins that one easily.
Yeah. One thing I thought about was like in terms of like predicting like the hand fight's kind of an interesting question too, because like you saw Chandler kind of blitz and like use Oliveira's hand fight as a trigger to hit him, and Gaethje is a willing hand fighter. That might be a problem here because Chandler explodes in so fast. Um, there's also just like the issue of like wrestling in general, because it's like Gaethje still has pretty underrated hips because he's very strong
Yeah.
and full strong, but so this fight, because like Khabib isn't like a great precedent for like
No,
measuring
no,
Gaethje's ground
not at
game.
all.
And Chandler isn't like a too much of an aggressive top player, but he is a pretty strong chain wrestler, like you said.
And he's
So,
also very strong at maintaining top position and staying safe. I mean,
mhm,
he has blanketed good grapplers from top position.
yeah,
So if he gets like Justin flat on his back, Justin might not be able to get back to his feet.
hmm yeah. So,
The thing is that the pace here is probably going to be so crazy that if they both get tired, it's
pace is
obvious that I trust Justin more in that fight.
pace is kind of a funny question here, because like Chandler is known for his insane pace and kind of like still kind of exploding into it more and more because he expends so much energy. But like I've seen Gaethje kind of like operate at a great pace too, even when tired. But a lot of that's kind of informed by his ability to deal damage in that time.
Yeah.
So
And the thing is
point-
that Chandler gets tired, but he's like when he's tired, he stopped doing stuff so he can get like this big burst, and he's still super dangerous there, especially if they're both tired. So
Yeah.
if they get tired, like I'm favoring Justin, but Chandler still has a chance
Yeah.
to land a big
Yeah,
punch
so-
there or a takedown.
Yeah, going on the front foot for pressure here with Gaethje is also an interesting alternative. In my opinion, it might be the better one.
If they get tired, I think Justin should just pressure forward.
Yeah, I think Gaethje should be.
I understand if he doesn't want to do that early on, but if the fight gets into war territory, I think Justin should go forward.
Yeah, in terms of like dealing attritional damage, there's no doubt Gaethje should be the guy that is favored there, especially with the leg kick damage, because nobody at lightweight punishes like resets the way he does with kicks in general. That's his biggest strength. So I don't know what this fight's gonna look like. There's so much basically to talk about. But
yeah,
it might end instantly. It might be a shootout. Chandler at its most boring might smother him. They might murder each other.
It's like a matchup that we haven't seen either of these guys face. So so that's what makes it so great.
Yeah.
I'm picking Justin by knockout on second round, but this is really like wait and see.
The fight that kind of makes me like side with Gaethje here is that Pitbull knockout loss, because Pitbull timed him on entry, and I think if Patricio Pitbull can do that, Justin Gaethje can do that. So
I mean yeah, but also like Pitbull is faster and a better mechanical puncher than Justin is. So you never know. I mean,
true. There's just a lot we just won't know until we see it.
Well, the thing is that if Chandler gets hurt, unless he lands like a Hail Mary, Justin is going to eat him alive.
Justin, Chandler is the guy who can't afford to get hurt here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll take Gaethje by that knockout. Hopefully it's really entertaining.
Yeah, hopefully we don't see any lying on top. I mean, for a few minutes it would be alright, but I want to see these guys bang.
Yeah, this is it's a Justin Gaethje and a Michael Chandler fight. It should be awesome.
Talking about awesome fights, but a one that feels kind of necessary. But yeah, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, it goes downhill from here.
I mean, this one should be both title fights should be good fights. It's that do we really need this?
Basically, yeah. So Rose Namajunas is having an instant rematch against Wei Li Zhang. I think, was it Zhang? I always mess this up.
Zhang, see.
Zhang, yeah. So I think starting with this fight is asking kind of why Rose won last time. And I think like it was kind of a matter of depth, basically. Like Rose is used to playing with that rhythm and range a lot more than Zhang. And like you see Zhang like using kicks and trying to blitzen, but Rose is constantly messing with rhythm. Eventually creates that like triple threat setup for that high kick and kills her.
But even as short as was, like we saw what a lot of people thought that the inside leg kick was going to be trouble for Rose, and it was for the short duration of the fight. I think Rose has all the tools to outclass Wei Li for a good while, but if she doesn't get the knockout early, it might get rough. I mean, Rose is still fragile on the clinch, and I think that's the biggest problem for her in this fight. And also, she doesn't have the greatest cardio, and Wei Li showed on the Joanna fight that she can go hard for 5 very stupid rounds.
Yeah, Zhang, Rose is kind of dangerous off of in the ground phase, but like if I don't think Zhang should afford to like mess around too much on the feet here, unless she changes tactics, because evidently like letting Rose like get that in and out work was kind of the deal breaker, and so yeah, it's hard to really say because I don't really buy personally that Zhang has that much depth to really pull it off. But
I mean, it's not about depth, but she has the physical tools to exploit what other fighters have exploited about Rose. I mean, Jessica Andrade didn't have the depth to deal with Rose, but eventually she just figured out that she just go to the body, counter entries, go to the clinch.
I think Andrade, though, to play devil's advocate for a minute, though, also had the benefit of kind of being immortal, sort of strawweight.
I mean, but we thought that.
Well, then again, actually, Zhang.
We thought about that against her fight with Weili, and Weili killed her.
Oh yeah, I impartially corrected. Yeah, that's.
So yeah, it's a bit crazy how things work.
Yeah, this division's weird. Yeah, I don't really know what to read here because like these are two fighters I don't really specialize in, but yeah,
I think this one should be very interesting to see as unnecessary as the rematch feels, because if it goes into a long fight, this should be a lot of fun and should give us answers about where both fighters at this moment.
Yeah, because the main interesting question here, even if that doesn't happen, is like, okay, so we had fight one happen. How does Rose build upon fight one, and what kind of things does Weili Zhang do differently to kind of change things? So those are the two main questions, I think.
I think if it goes long, Rose loses the last two rounds. I'm not sure if Weili can win another round there to win the fight, but I think Rose fades, and you don't want to fade against Weili. On the other hand, early on, Rose should have the advantage, as she already showed on their first meeting.
Yeah, I don't really know how to call this.
Yeah, like, it's super hard to.
Yeah,
this one to me feels like coin flip despite the result of the first fight.
Yeah, because we just don't know, like, some things we just don't know yet, but it still feels like, based upon what we do know, kind of have to pick Rose again.
Yeah, I'm taking the gamble, and I'm picking Weili by decision.
Respect. Yeah, I'll take Rose by a second round knockout this time.
Okay,
maybe
that's cool. I mean, she can crack for sure. So.
Yeah. So anyhow, yeah, I think.
And if you thought that one was unnecessary,
the
main event.
Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington 2 for the welterweight belt. I don't know. So yeah, this fight kind of feels like it's being made a lot because the first fight was a banger, and it was, but it was also really funny and sloppy.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I described it at the time as of two wrestlers kickboxing the movie.
It's like, yeah, so that fight, I've literally written down exactly what happened. So basically, it's a weird matchup because basically you have Colby Covington, who products through like his volume, but it's often purposeless volume just for the sake of scaring you, but he can't wrestle with that necessarily against Usman. And there's Usman, who is this weird tactile learner on the feet, as in basically he learns through trial and error, and has to improvise a lot because it's basically like, oh, that didn't work, try this, try that,
also,
oh, that didn't work.
Yeah. Also, the first fight was weird because we were all wondering. I mean, a lot of us were counting on that Usman was going to easily out wrestle Colby, but then neither guy wanted to wrestle at all.
Yeah,
I guess both guys were. I think my theory is that both guys were concerned about their cardio and didn't want to gamble wrestling with another good wrestler.
Which is weird because both guys have like two of the most proven gas tanks in the UFC. So for all the shit we give,
but they both depend a lot on being less tired than their opponent.
True. Okay.
So what if this takedown attempt backfires? And obviously we see that Usman should be the better wrestler, both physically and technically, but you never know. I mean, Colby, for all his faults, is a tremendous scrambler.
True.
Like Maya got like super deep shots on him, and didn't accomplish anything at all.
Yeah. Yeah, so the first fight, what ends up happening is basically Usman turns into a wood chipper and wood chips himself in Covington. That is actually what happens. And so you'll have amazing moments where Usman just decides, oh, this guy's jabbing me up. I shall switch to southpaw and try to jab him, and then gets cross-countered. And then switches back and realizes, wait, your jab isn't that good, so I'll just murder you to the body.
Both guys were fighting. All the meaningful offense was found on the counter for both guys.
Yeah, it's
I think what made the difference was that both Kamaru and Colby were finding good shots on the counter and were hurting each other. But Kamaru eventually found good leads with the jab from both stances, and Colby didn't have that, so he started wearing on the
jab. Yeah, there's a difference in kind of the process to how they operate on the feet with their pace. Like Covington kind of just throws for the sake of throwing often to kind of scare the other guy, right? Or to just throw a lot. Whereas Usman, you see kind of that more precision kind of tactics.
Yeah, I mean Colby.
He's a thinker.
Colby was pressing forward and he was like praying for mistakes. And to his credit, when Kamaru made mistakes, he made him pay. But Kamaru was more thoughtful in the sense that he was trying to create those openings instead of hoping that Colby gave him to him. So I think that was the main difference. And also, as I said, both guys weren't finding much success leading, so they were both hurting each other with the counters. And eventually, Kamaru realized, I can actually lead safely with this jab from both stances, and Colby can't. So I'll just jab and counter and eventually hurt him that way.
Yeah, the other thing is he also realized Covington only operates strictly on that center line. And Usman was like, what if I just duck and hit you to the body really freaking hard? Or what if I just kind of step in? And this is ultimately what creates the knockout. Like, what if I step in and make you smother and then just as you're backing out, I crack you really hard? And it's just like those little things just made kind of the difference because it's like.
Yeah, you can tell Colby had some good ideas and had his trainers gave him some good advice of what to do in the pocket. He was looking decent there, but then the lack of experience as a striker showed because his exits weren't as clean. He was exiting the pocket with his chin up there, and eventually Kamaru figured it out I don't have to wait for my turn. I can just crack him when he's exiting.
Yeah, and it's like Covington also benefited by being really durable here because it's like
he took big shots from Colby.
He did.
Colby's not a big puncher, but he was landing clean and hard on Kamaru.
Yeah, Usman's biggest problem is he has to figure out what works for him, and that means he's very open early because he doesn't have the defensive depth yet.
And he also he's kind of when Kamaru also I feel like he needs to warm up.
He has to figure it out, but it means he has to improvise.
He's super stiff at the beginning of fights.
Yeah.
That's why
he has to
got hurt by Burns and by Masvidal.
It means he has to improvise a lot, but he's good at improvising at the very least. The one thing that drives me crazy is he doesn't operate transitionally yet because it's you have this top 10 clinch in the whole UFC and you don't know how to punch into transitions, and that would be really, really cool for you to learn. So, but yeah, it's kind of didn't matter here because it's Usman kind of fought like an idiot, but he still outskilled Covington and outgained him.
And to consider him is that we've seen Usman just getting better on the feet.
Yeah.
Not by that big of a margin as people think, but he's still better than when he faced Colby. And Colby, if anything, looked pretty lackluster against Woodley.
Yeah, the book is out on Woodley, and you still look kind of mediocre. You're dead to me. But yeah, it's I think the thing about Usman's improvements, quote unquote, a lot of people have been saying he's been turning into the Trevor Whitman style, neutral range fighter, and I'm not really seeing that. I think he's just kind of trying to find ways to be more defensively responsible. Well,
And it's not
uncomfortable.
working early, but he eventually figures it out
Yeah,
as
and
the
it's
fight
also
goes on.
it's also like a lot of people. You and I have talked about this before. Masvidal looked really bad in that rematch and
Yeah,
didn't do anything.
the knockout was great and all, but Masvidal looked like shit. I give more credit to the Gilbert fight, if anything.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's
Not that not that not that Gilbert is a better fighter than Masvidal. I don't think he is, but the performance was more impressive. Even though Kamaru looked way better against Masvidal because Masvidal didn't do really anything to give him trouble.
yeah, it's like the book's kind of out on like looking at Usman as a fighter. Like he's open early. He has to feel like what works. So and I don't think Masvidal too is a great precedent for like how does he approach rematches that he's already won.
Yeah.
Like and because Masvidal didn't really try. Um and so here with Covington, it's also like we've only seen Covington fight Woodley, and Woodley isn't going to be the guy who's going to ask those questions of Covington, really, because it's like although Covington kind of did use the excuse me anti-Woodley playbook, it's still like he didn't really like fully dominate that fight either.
Burns beat Woodley way better, and he did it
Yeah,
before, so
yeah. I mean, so it's like it's not that impressive of a win, and it's not really like a good indictment for seeing him improve. But
I
who
think it would
knows?
be smart for Usman to try for the clinch at least
Yes.
once on this fight to see how that goes. I think he holds a big advantage there, but I understand if he doesn't want to get into the whole wrestling thing, especially if he feels like the superior striker going on into the rematch after the knockout.
hmm Yeah, I think I do I will say on Covington's side, like Covington did actually try in that first fight going for some of those wrestling or like clinch exchanges, but every time he did, like Usman instantly would just like smother him and crack him to the body
Yeah, that was
or
great.
like knee him. And so it's like that scared Covington off of like looking for those moments anyway. So the question is why didn't Usman look for more of those? And I kind of get it because it's like oh, I don't have the depth to like maybe cross this, or I don't really know how to create the clinch off of this from
Or
such a willing trader.
maybe he felt vulnerable in the transitions. Who
Or
knows?
he was just angry and just wanted to kick his ass. Who knows?
So yeah, I think this is a pretty easy pick for Usman. I'm picking a
Yeah.
knockout on the third round, but I mean, if Colby hurts him early, he has the gas tank to take advantage of that. So
hmm
it's not like he has a zero chance here.
Yeah, we don't know what Covington looks like. We don't know what he's been working on. We've seen what Usman's been doing. Um,
I mean, if Colby shows like exactly like on the first fight, he still has a small chance. I mean, Usman is the obvious pick here. Don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't be completely surprised if Colby won this one.
no, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was still kind of an ugly competitive fight again, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, same.
Yeah, it's yeah, it might just kind of be a repeat of last time, maybe quicker because Usman kind of knows the tools. Who knows really? But yeah, I mean, no reason to pick against Usman. I'll say he wins again by fourth round this time, maybe a little
Yeah.
faster.
Okay, so yeah, I'm going knockout on the third.
Yeah.
So that's it for picks.
hmm
So again, we're going to give some recommendations for fight that you shouldn't miss on this
Yeah.
one before leaving you guys. So
I'd
going
say
from
I'd say Vergara Osborne will probably be really fun. The first
yeah, I
fight
mean,
of the card.
if you wanna
It's
watch
not.
something
I
on
wouldn't
the
say
early
it.
prelims,
I wouldn't say it's like can't miss, but it's definitely probably going to be fun.
yeah, I mean, if you wanna have fun early, yeah, don't miss that one. Um, the Shibazium fight probably going to be fun too,
hmm
actually. But if you want to get into like the really good stuff, like do not miss Al versus Bobby Green. Like that one is don't miss it at all. I wouldn't put much stock on the Beretta fight because it's such a
hmm
gimme. I mean, if you want to see a highlight knockout, you're
hmm
probably going to get it.
hmm
And the main card is great. Just watch the
hmm
whole thing because
Yeah. like even the rematches, they're still like intrigue, and they're still probably going to be exciting because it's like
they're gonna be good fights. Yeah, even
it's like Gaethje, Chandler, and Burgos, Billy Q are like the MVPs, but like like this is a good card. It's not as strong as last week, but there's still a lot of things to like.
I mean, I watched the whole thing and I have fun. So
yeah, but I don't really have anything else to say other than if you watched last weekend's yard, damn, that Peter Yan guy is really, really good.
very, very good. Do not act like we didn't tell you.
Don't act. Yep, and I think we got most of our picks right. Well, you did, but like we called.
I had every pick right except for the main event. But I said Glover had a good chance, so I covered my ass.
Well, that's okay. I think dynamics matter more here than actual like.
Yeah, we got the. I mean, it's more impressive to get the dynamics right, and I think we got like at least 90%. Yeah, we did great. So this is the part where we are patting each other on the back for being great.
Yeah, because that's kind of the point of this preview pod, because it's like, I mean, like picks matter, but we're not gamblers, so it's more like we're more about like getting the outcomes.
Yeah, if you
like, ideas.
Yeah, the results are just a guess. Really, what's important is getting the process right.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a gambler and you wanna hear to some smart talk, here we are anyway.
Yeah, and just look at this guy's record from last time. He got 15 out of 16, close enough. Whereas I think I got 10 out of 16. It was 16 last week.
No. You just got drunk the bulk of one. So we were the same picks on every.
No, I think I did get 3 of them wrong, because it's like one of them was like, fuck you, I'm picking this one. Yeah, but yeah, this one I think is kind of more like coin flips though than last one.
Yeah, so. This one is for sure harder to predict. I think this one is riskier from a betting perspective.
But yeah, it's a good card. Highly hope you all have fun. And rare we get 2 good UFC events in a row, but I'm out of things to say. Other than all hail Yan.
All hail Yan.
You're the one who